Okay. First of all, my laptop might be making some weird noises. I'm not sure if the recording's actually going to pick it up. But just in case it does, well, that's what's causing the sound, so you have an understanding of what's going on. Okay, now that I've said that, I thought I'd try something a little different for this video. You see, I usually often do look up economic statistics, but I thought, why don't I just go over the process in a video with who's ever interested? So that's what the video is going to be about. I'm going to be looking through some economic statistics and talking about the process of how I research the stuff as I do it. So anyway, I have the page for the International Monetary Fund, and that's the website I'm going to dig into these economic statistics. I'm specifically going to be looking into the debt levels of various countries, but I decided I'd go over the process of actually looking into the databases over in this video rather than just presenting the final page, because I thought it would be an interesting change of pace and it might be fun to go over the entire process. So here's the website. Sorry about that. So first I have to find out where the link to their databases are. Okay. This is what I'm looking for, data. Yes, the World Economic Databases, that's what I'm looking for. And here's the most recent one, October 2020. So this is what I was trying to find. So anyway, now that I've brought up the World Economic Outlook database through looking through the IMF site, I have to find the best way to sort the data, so I'm going to click the By Countries button. Okay. Now this is going to give me a list of countries I can sort through. So I'm interested in advanced economies today. So these are the countries I want to look up. So I'm going to click Clear All so I have a blank slate. I want to look up the statistics for the United States, the UK, Taiwan, Switzerland, Sweden, and Spain. I'm also interested in Portugal and the Netherlands. Japan, Italy, Greece, Germany, France, Finland, Denmark, and Belgium. I specifically want to look up deficits and debt. So now I'm going to go to the next stage of the query. So now this is giving me a list of indicators and data I can click on, and they'll present me the numbers for each country. So I'm going to look through this list and choose the ones I want to pick. They have gross domestic product per capita constant prices. They have inflation. Okay, now this is what I want, government finances. At least for today. Okay, general government net lending / borrowing, percent of GDP. And general government debt as a percent of GDP. Of course, I think I want gross debt rather than net debt. So let me just go over the list one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything. Gross domestic product, general government debt, government gross debt, government net debt, government primary lending and borrowing, government net lending and borrowing, structural balance, government net lending borrowing. Let's see, net lending and borrowing is calculated as revenue minus total expenditure. Yeah, exactly what I wanted to find. Now these numbers are from October, so they might be a bit out of date, but whatever. They're the best I can come up with on the IMF. So I'm going to click continue. So I actually do think 2018 is a good start year, and 2025 is a good enough end year. So I'm going to just continue. And now I'm going to click Prepare Report. I'm going to click Download Report because this is difficult to read in the format it's presented because I have to scroll all the way down here to scroll to the left. And I can't focus on the part of the screen I want to focus on while I'm scrolling over at the same time, so I need to look at the whole thing at once, and to do that I need to download the report. And this will present the report in a PDF file that I can actually read all at once. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to try downloading the report again. Okay, now I can actually click on this and bring up the file. Sorry about this, my computer seems to be frozen now. Well, at least the file's coming up now. Okay, that was the wrong set of data. Okay, so I finally got this up and on this program, so here it is. So let's stretch this out so I can actually read what's in the column. Okay, so I have a list of every country, and every country has two rows. One is net lending or borrowing, that's the yearly deficit, and the other is the total debt of the country as a percent of GDP in that year. So, let's look at Belgium. Belgium had a fairly balanced budget in 2018 and 2019, but then in 2020 the debt deficit increased to 10% of GDP. And according to the IMF, the forecast is for 2021 it'll be 6% of GDP. And total government debt will increase to about 120 GDP by 2024. Let's look at Denmark. Denmark had very low debt and a relatively balanced budget, and their deficits for 2020 and 2021 were surprisingly small. So at the end of this, they're still going to have a very small level of debt. The same thing with Finland. It had a moderate level of debt, but its deficits are still pretty small considering everything. So it's going to end the crisis with a moderate level of debt still. So according to the IMF, France will have a deficit of 10% of GDP in 2020 and 7-ish% in 2021. So its total debt will be 120% of GDP by 2022. Okay, Germany had a moderate deficit of about 10% GDP in 2020, so its forecasted total debt level is going to be like 70% GDP. Again, this is the IMF's numbers from October, so they might be a little over-optimistic. We'll have to see if they revise them by next year or a year later, but these are the IMF forecasts. So Greece is going to have a yearly deficit of about 10%, and its total debt is going to increase to 200% of GDP. So in Italy, it's going to have a deficit of 13% GDP in 2020 and 6% GDP this year. And these forecasts might be a little over-optimistic. So total debt as a percent of GDP is going to increase from 130% GDP to 160% GDP. Okay. So Japan's deficit in 2020 was 15% GDP, and this year they're forecasting it to be about 6% of GDP. So as you can see, total debt as a percent of GDP is going to rise by 30 points to 266% GDP. The Netherlands also has a fairly large deficit, but since debt started out at moderate levels, it's going to stay in the moderate-ish range. In Portugal, the total debt load is going to increase by 30 points to 137% of GDP. In Spain, the deficit was 15% GDP, and the forecast of total debt's going to increase to 120% GDP in Spain. Again, Sweden has lowish deficits and low debt levels. Same thing in Switzerland. Same thing in Taiwan. Okay, the United Kingdom has large deficits, and its debt is going to increase to fairly high levels. according to this forecast, of about 115% GDP. And in the United States, total debt's going to be 130% GDP, and the deficit's going to be 18% GDP. So some countries like Italy and Japan are going to have debt at fairly high levels. And anyway, those are the debt and deficit statistics I want to look over. And I decided I'd go over the process of looking up that data in the video and share it with who's ever interested. So that's it for the video.